Hello friends, today I wanted to give you my top 10 films that you should watch during quarantine, self-isolation, however you want to call it. These are by no means my favorite movies of all time. They are just movies that I think you might enjoy if you've seen everything that Netflix has suggested to you, if you've seen everything that your friends have suggested to you, maybe a few other options that you haven't gotten to. And I try to keep them as light as possible. We're talking like the strawberry shortcake of films, if you will. Nothing too heavy. We're not talking brownies or cheesecake or anything like that. We're talking simply mousse and croissants and mango gelato, things of that nature.
Carla goes to the movie.
I try to put in a good mix of Amazon Prime, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever it is you got going on. I try to put at least one from every category. Number one is called Love, Wedding, Repeat, and it's just came out on Netflix, I think on Friday evening, if I'm not mistaken. And I wanted to watch this movie for two reasons. Number one is that Sam Claflin is what I believe to be the closest to the perfect man that exists in the world. He's like, yeah, pretty much what I imagine to, and I don't know him personally, so he probably isn't, but anyway, he's in this movie, and he's also in one of my other favorite rom-coms, which is called Love, Rosie, and that movie it's not great, but I love it. So I just figured he would be great in this too. And the second is, if you've ever seen the middle school classic Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging, best friend in that film, her name is Jazz. She has the best one-liners and she's hilarious. And that actress, Eleanor Tomlinson, is in this movie too, and she plays Sam's sister. So with those two actors, I was kind of thinking that it might be cute at the very least and funny, and yeah, it is. It's kind of funny. You'll get at least one chuckle out of it, and there's romance. And if those are the only three things that you are looking for in a film to watch on a Friday night or a Tuesday night or whatever night, because days don't really matter anymore, it's a good cheesy rom-com and it'll do the trick. So that's my first one, and these are not in order. Number two is a little show called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which apparently everybody and their mom knew about except for me. And I started a few days ago. I'm now in season 5. It's hilarious. There's not much else I can say about it other than do not come into it expecting Office humor or Parks and Rec humor. It is nowhere near as pure. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it. It's hard to describe because I've never seen a show like it where there's like the most ridiculous plots but still somehow just so funny that it doesn't feel completely out of touch. Maybe you'll find it different, but it's just hilarious. And if you need a good laugh and don't care that maybe the jokes are just a tiny bit inappropriate, then you will enjoy this one. Okay, so 3 and 4 don't necessarily fall into the light and airy category, but I think when you watch them fully, you come away with a really good feeling, and that's what I mean when I say light and airy. So number 3 is Silver Linings Playbook, and I mean, it's in the title, silver line. There's a silver lining to everything, and I do believe that. And that movie it definitely just like changed my perspective on so many things. It's my favorite movie that Bradley Cooper's been in, and I am a fan of his for sure, and I have seen I'd say like 80% of the movies he's been in, and this is still my favorite. He's incredible in it. Jennifer Lawrence, she's always great. Robert De Niro this is also probably my favorite, and yes, I know he's in Taxi Driver and like all of these other incredible movies, but this is my favorite of his. And if you are looking for the silver lining in all of this, then I'd say give it a watch. It's funny, it'll make you cry, it'll make you feel all the emotions, and it's great performances all around, so definitely give it a watch. Number 4 is a show as well, and it's Maniac on Netflix. I don't have too many friends that have watched this. Whenever I recommend it to somebody, they're like, oh, I never even heard of it. And Jonah Hill is in it, Emma Stone is in it. They're both amazing, which is like reason enough for me to watch it at least. But it's also just a completely different show. It takes place in an alternative like 80s, 90s world. And that's kind of all I want to say about it because it's so good and you just need to watch it. It does talk about mental health and coping with that and living with that, and super interesting take on that, but it never leaves you feeling hopeless or anything like that. Like it's to me it is an uplifting show, and I think it's definitely worth a watch. So that's my number 4. Watch the trailer and you'll know what I mean by it's just not like anything I've ever seen before. It's super creative and one of my favorite things to watch for sure. Number 5 is the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. It's on Netflix. This is technically, I guess, my second rom-com on the list. I wouldn't fully classify it as a rom-com, but I also wouldn't fully classify it as a period drama. It's a good mixture of those two, though, I would say. It stars Lily James and a bunch of really awesome British actors that I can't fully remember their names, but it takes place in Guernsey during World War II, and it's just beautifully told. It's a story about community. It's about the power of reading, as absolutely cheesy as that sounds. Yeah, like these people came together to be able to read and share stories with each other, and it's beautiful. I think you should definitely give it a watch. And yes, there's some war, you know, scenes and things of that nature, but for the most part it's just uplifting and a great movie. Okay, the next 3 films on the list are all animated movies. So if you're not a fan of animated movies, then well, there's one live action, but not live action, stop motion. So, but I would still classify that as an animated. I think there's something comforting about animated movies at a time like this, that like takes you back to your childhood. Not that I watched any of these during my childhood. Anyway, number 6 is The Good Dinosaur. I watched this one on a plane a few years ago and it broke my heart, but it is so soothing also. I don't know, if you've ever watched those Pixar movies that play before the feature film and you've thought, I could watch a full hour of this, then this is the movie for you. It's not very long, and it's about a dinosaur and he's lost, and pretty much all you need to know about it. It's really cute. Watch it with your nieces and nephews if you're quarantined with them, or just watch it by yourself. It's a really cute movie, and but also makes you think a lot. So it's really good. Number 7 is gonna be the stop motion one. It's called My Life as a Zucchini. It's on Netflix. And the cool thing, well, there's a lot of cool things about it, but one of the cool things about it is that it's in French originally, so you can watch it in French on Netflix or you can watch it in English. They're both great. It sounds so lovely in French. My friend and I were watching it together and she started watching it in French at first, and when we switched over to English I was like, oh, it's not quite as charming. But it's a beautiful story. The kid's name is Zucchini. It's not about an actual zucchini, but although that I wouldn't have minded that either. I don't mind like any sort of weirdness when it comes to stop motion. I watched a short film that was in French as well, and super bizarre but beautiful as well, as most things I guess are. And anyway, with this one, it talks about abandonment issues and things that maybe aren't always brought to life in an animated fashion. But yeah, it's great, and it's about a little boy who's just trying to make his way through life as an orphan, and it's great. It's beautiful. Number 8 is my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I know that's a strong statement to make because he has so many great ones, and trust me, I love them all, but I think it was such an incredible feat for him to make a stop motion movie. Oh, I guess there's 2 stop motions on the list anyway, but I think it's such a feat for him to be able to make a stop motion movie, and not only make one, but make one that to me was so well done, and again, as offbeat as everything else that he's done is, and have it be a story that I think resonates with everybody. It's called Isle of Dogs. It's about the owner dog situation, what that means, but I think that translates so well into what friendship is. And yeah, the stop motion is wonderful. The humor in it is just so good, and it's, I think sometimes it if you're not like paying attention, it can go over your head because it also is in English mostly, but the characters are in Japan, and so there's that aspect of it. It's just a very interesting movie, and unlike anything he has done, I'd say, which I think is why it's my favorite, because every movie is so offbeat, but in an almost predictable way. Not that that's a bad thing when it comes to Wes Anderson, just in the same way that it's not a bad thing when it comes to Quentin Tarantino movies. You come to expect it. It just is what it is because that's their style of filming. So it was really cool to see this new sort of aspect of his creativity. And dogs. Who doesn't love dogs? Okay, I'm kind of cheating with 9 because it's a 2 for 1. My comfort show of the first few days of all of this was definitely Even Stevens. It's on Disney Plus. Also, I know there's a couple of episodes on YouTube. But yeah, it's so funny and it's so cheesy. Watching it back, I'm like, yeah, this is bottom of the barrel sort of funny, but it's still funny. It's still comedic genius to me. Like, Shia LaBeouf will forever be like one of the most interesting humans, and yeah, so if you're up for that, I'd check out Even Stevens, but I would also check out Honey Boy. I didn't want to put that on the list because that one is not, I can't even like try and justify it being light and airy because it is not. But he wrote the movie in rehab, so you know, but it's so good. And if you're, I would like do Honey Boy first and then do Even Stevens, give you like have that sort of cathartic experience and then watch Even Stevens to have a laugh. And there you go. So that's 9 and 10, but not really. Number 10 is a movie called About Time. This one does kind of fall into my favorite movies of all time category. It's, did that make sense? Was that an English sentence? Anyway, it's one of my favorite movies in general, but also one that I've found myself really applies at a time like this. It is about a boy who finds out that he can time travel, is the short summary of it, and him choosing what to do with that. And I know it sounds like it doesn't sound very good. I will say that. And yes, Rachel McAdams is in it, and there's romance and all of that, but it's also just about life and about living every day in a way that you're going to be proud of in years to come. And it's just a really cool story, and I think is very wise in a way, the way that it's told. And it also takes place in London, which I love. So every time I watch it, I'm just always like looking at all the spots, kind of in the same way that I watch movies that are shot in New York. But yeah, there's some really cool scenes in the subway and the tube, just out in London, and always takes me back. So one of my personal favorites for sure. And there you go, that's my list. I might do a part 2 because there's so many, and maybe I'll do like okay, we've made it through a month of quarantine, now we can watch like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and movies like that now. I think I'm getting to that point where like I'm finally ready for those kind of movies, but I wasn't for a while, so who knows.